Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and I know this video is a little bit late. I haven't really had time to get to this video until now, but since there are still a few days left, I still think it's a good idea to talk about these avatar boards. So we got 3 new avatar boards as of August 1st, and boy are these some crazy avatar boards. We got the Sandlot Trio, the Sandbox Trio, the Twilight Town Gang, whatever you want to call them. We got the avatar boards for Kingdom Hearts 2 Hayner, Kingdom Hearts 2 Pence, and Kingdom Hearts 2 Olette. Now we have quite a bit of time still to decide if we want to buy these avatar boards. You have until August 12th, which is still 7 days away, so that's still a lot of time to decide if you need them. But if you really want help deciding now, hopefully this video is here to help you. So, unfortunately, unlike the Stitch and Angel and the Hercules and Megara avatar boards, we don't start with a pun, but going on, dress up as your favorite Kingdom Hearts 2 Twilight Town friends with the Kingdom Hearts 2 Hayner, Kingdom Hearts 2 Pence, and Kingdom Hearts 2 Olette avatar boards. They're only going to cost 2,500 jewels, which is really good, but remember that these jewels buy you a lot of resources. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dig into the resources themselves, starting with, which is probably the selling point of this entire avatar board, or whatever avatar board you buy, the skills. So there are 3 solid skills that come with these avatar boards, meaning that since there are 3 avatar boards, you get 3 of each copy if you buy all the avatar boards. Starting with the first skill, we have Attack Boost 7 Max, which is a crazy skill. It's still really good. It fits a lot of different contexts, and it's also the highest attack boost we have right now, bringing our medals up to times 2.4 damage if you have the skill on them. The only thing about this skill that could be perturbing for some people is that it doesn't have an SP attachment to it. So it's not Attack Boost 7 Max SP2, which was the July 2018 Coliseum reward. Now, I know that could be perturbing to some people, but remember that it's still really good to have just plain Attack Boost Max skills. The reason behind that is because of gauge usage. Now, we have to go through some examples of this, so bear with me during the explanation. So, people would say Attack Boost 7 Max SP2 is probably the best attack boost skill on the market right now, but that's not always true. So the thing about Attack Boost Max skills that have an SP part to them is that no matter what happens, no matter how much gauges the medal requires, it will consume that many gauges. So let's say Attack Boost 7 Max SP Gauge 2, no matter what medal that skill is on, if you activate the special attack, it is going to automatically consume 2 gauges. Now that's really good for some scenarios. Let's say you have the new Simba and Lion Sora medal, that thing eats 9 gauges, but if you slap Attack Boost 7 Max SP2 on it, it only consumes 2 gauges, granted you have the 9 gauges before you activate the medal in order to activate it. So that's a really good context of using Attack Boost 7 Max SP2. Now, where it goes wrong is when you have skills that cost, or when you have medals that have a gauge usage of less than 2. So let's say you're using a forward copy medal like the Phantom, Kingdom Hearts 2 Nominee, HD Nominee. Those medals have an SP gauge cost of 0. It costs nothing to activate them. But if you slapped Attack Boost 7 Max SP Gauge 2 on those medals, whenever you activate those medals, even though they cost nothing, you will still lose 2 gauges due to this skill. So remember that the skill will eat the gauges no matter what. This is where the plain Attack Boost Max skills come in handy, because if you slap an Attack Boost 7 Max on your medals that cost 0 gauges, essentially they get all the Attack Boost Max without using any additional resources that the Attack Boost Max SP skill would use. So I know that was a little bit confusing of a description. If you have any questions about it, please do not hesitate to ask me down in the comments below. So that's why I think Attack Boost 7 Max is a really good skill on this board. Moving on to the next skill, we have Defense Boost 4 Max, and the minute that people saw this skill, there were a lot of things to talk about. So first of all, we did not get it in a Coliseum, so people were expecting it to be the Coliseum reward for this month, but instead they're just giving it to us in an avatar board. This skill is going to change the way people play PvP. This is going to be part of the new meta for PvP, because it used to be Defense Boost 3 Max plus Defense Boost 5. Now it's going to be Defense Boost 4 Max plus Defense Boost 5 is going to be the meta of PvP moving forward. it saves you from eating a ton of damage in PvP. So let's say, because defense boosts honestly have to do with just your opponent, it doesn't really have to do with buffing yourself, it doesn't have to do with you gaining any extra damage, it just denies your opponent from giving you extra damage. So what do I mean by it's going to be the new power creep? Well, let's give some numbers to it. So if you had defense boost 3 max on a medal during your PvP matches, you're only eating 20% of the total damage because defense boost 3 cuts down the damage by 4/5, meaning you only eat 20% of the total damage. Defense boost 4, when you have it and it's the max skill, you're only going to be eating a total of 12.5% of the damage from your opponent because defense boost 4 cuts the damage down by 7/8. That is a ton of damage saved. So let's give an example to this. Let's put some numbers on it. So for example, let's say you have defense boost 3 max and your opponent hit you for 30 million points of damage. That's a lot of damage. That's a pretty standard amount of damage that people give within the silver ticket to low gold ticket range. So between that, what is it? It's like between like 1,000 place to like 15,000, you know, people are going to be hitting you with roughly 30 million points of damage. Now, if you have defense boost 4 max, you're only going to be eating, again, 12.5% of the damage, bringing that 30 million damage when you're using defense boost 3 max to 18.75 million damage. That is almost cutting it down by an entire third. That is a lot of damage you are not eating, and that just gives you more leeway, even if you don't have strong medals, to place higher in PvP. So, again, this is the new meta moving forward with PvP. Pairing this thing with defense boost 5, again, like I said earlier, makes you a crazy contender in PvP. If you look at the top 10 people, they've already got these setups with defense boost 4 max and defense boost 5 together, plus all these other damage dealing medals. So it always makes sense to copy what the best are doing. So what are the best medals to put this skill on? So a bad example of this would, in my personal opinion, I know a lot of people would say otherwise, I think it was a mistake putting defense boost 3 max on my Vexen medal because I'm not using it in every single setup. So you want to use your defense boost max on medals that will be in every single one of your PvP setups. So that's why I think giving it to Vexen Plus was sort of a mistake, because I don't use Vexen Plus in all my PvP rounds, and honestly it's somewhat of a hindrance because I could be dealing damage, but instead I'm trying to build a defense, which makes no sense when your opponent has Kyrie EX Plus or Xion EX Plus, because it overwrites your defense buffs. So essentially I feel like I sort of wasted a defense boost 3 max on Vexen, but it was good at the time. It's time to change it up with something new. An okay example of what you can give defense boost 4 max to is Violet. Actually, the Prime Violet that came out with the Incredibles banner is a pretty solid example of what you can use defense boost 4 max on, because Violet is the first medal to be able to give us +3 general defense up. That is really important, especially when you're not a very strong player, when you don't have a lot of strong medals, because you're going to want to wall up for some of these challenges where the objectives are complete without having to continue. So having defense boost 4 max on a medal that gives you defense gives you like a sort of ultimate turtling kind of setup. But again, like Vexen Plus, you're not going to be using Violet in all of your single PvP setups, so that's why it's only an okay example. There are some situations where using it on Violet would be fantastic, and then PvP where it's not as useful. Now, when we move on to great examples, we are thinking things like Kyrie EX, Xion EX, Kyrie EX Plus, Xion EX Plus, because you are guaranteed to almost use those in every single setup during your PvP rounds, meaning that you will always have that defense boost 4 max handy, and you will always be denying that damage that your opponent is giving you. I'd make an argument that you can use it on some imitation medals, but I'd really only recommend that if you have either multiple imitation medals, or if you have like one that you don't really use, but you can use it in every single setup to copy a buffer, to copy a different medal, to fill up a slot that isn't very useful, like the 5th slot in Olympia. So that's why I think that, you know, imitation medals are still a solid choice, just not as good as Kyrie EX Plus, Xion EX Plus, or Kyrie EX and just regular Xion EX. Alright, so that was the bulk of the skill. Next we move on to Attack Boost 7, AP Plus, and Lux Plus. So this is the Trinity skill, except Attack Boost 7 this time around. The thing about this skill that kind of makes me not want to, advertise it too well is because it's not a max skill, meaning that it's not guaranteed damage, and sometimes you need that consistency every single time. So let's say you're playing PvP again, and your attack boost 7, AP plus, Lux plus doesn't activate. You're missing out on quite a bit of damage, because that is a medal that would have had times 2.4 the amount of damage, only doing its regular amount of damage. So again, the big thing about this skill is that it won't proc every single time. Even if you have a bunch of skill perks on it, it's never 100% guaranteed activation. So just keep that in mind when you buy this one. It is a very flexible skill because it restores gauges, it has Lux Plus on it, and it's also a very heavy hitting medal. But when you have things like Kyrie EX, Xion EX, which like restore gauges, even Illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Kyrie, those all restore gauges. So realistically, you're not into too much of a hard scenario when it comes to using that AP+. With Lux Plus around, that Lux Plus kind of just goes down the drain. It's really more for people that don't have a full set of Lux Plus skills yet. So just keep that in mind. It's a very flexible skill. It's not a very reliable one when you think about it as not being a max skill, but with skill perks, again, it's still a pretty high percentage. Alright, moving on to the perks that the avatar boards offer, we have new skill perk parts, so that is really, really good. Remember, like what I was talking about earlier, having skill perk increases the chance of your non-max skills for activating. So that becomes really important when you're using things like non-max AB skills, attack boost skills, like that attack boost 7, Lux Plus, AP Plus that we were talking about earlier. It's relevant for defense boost, so for PvP players, you're going to want to activate that defense boost 5 as many times as you possibly can. So having this on there is definitely going to increase your odds of canceling damage via defense boost 5. So that is, again, really good. It is relevant for second chance. So we haven't gotten a second chance skill in quite a bit to my knowledge. So to have this plus a second chance, even just from the newcomer deal, brings up your chances of activating second chance to a pretty high percentage. I'd want to say around 50% if you're just using the regular second chance, or like it's pretty much like 100% if you're using second chance 3. So that's really good to have these new skill perks because it is relevant in multiple aspects of the game. When you get the Hayner avatar board, you're going to get a male hand skill perk, so the bat and wristband, which gives you skill perk plus 8. So this is going to replace any plus 6 skill perk glove that you originally had because it's going to give you that plus 2 extra. For the Kingdom Hearts 2 Pence avatar board, you're going to get a chest perk. I believe it's a chest perk. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't bought this avatar board quite yet. But the thing about having it be a chest perk is that it would replace a doll, like the Charithi doll, which gives you plus 6 skill perk. So you're actually losing 2 points of skill perk if you're using the camera avatar part for the male avatar board. For the female avatar board, this is where I kind of get lost because it is a necklace, which is going to be skill perk plus 7, which I'd assume is a chess piece, meaning that it would replace a doll, which gives you plus 6 skill perk. So for the females, again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it'll give you plus 1 extra point of skill perk, and that is really solid. Moving on to the rest of the stuff that the avatar boards give you, we're going to get a chip. So for those who get the Kingdom Hearts 2 Hayner avatar board, because you're missing one avatar part in comparison to the other two, you're getting an extra chip medal, which is, kind of whatever. You're getting a Dale medal, a Sid 10 medal, you're going to get 5 magic mirrors, and 3 magic brooms. Sadly, we are still not at the point where our avatar boards will be giving us a full Mickey and broom, but we're getting there. So 3 is just 2 away from a full Mickey and broom, meaning if you buy 2 of these avatar boards, you're guaranteeing yourself at least 1 full Mickey and broom. We will also be getting a magic gem and a set of different titles based on which avatar boards you buy. So if you get the Kingdom Hearts 2 Hayner avatar board, you're going to get Rowdy. If you buy the Kingdom Hearts 2 Pence avatar board, you're going to get 7 Wonders. And then if you buy the Kingdom Hearts 2 Olette avatar board, you are going to be getting a Money Pouch title. So titles are always just fun. They're a very creative way to play the game. It's fun to go into PvP and seeing what sort of hilarious titles that your opponents put up. So I think it's just fun seeing people's creativity through their titles. Alright, so we finally reached the bottom of the avatar board notice, so let's go ahead and move into the recommendation. So what I personally recommend is that you at least pull once, or at least you get one avatar board, because even if you're not really into PvP a lot, there's still a lot of fantastic skills on this avatar board. For example, like we were talking about during pretty much the whole middle segment of this video, you're going to be getting Defense Boost for Max, which is a fantastic skill to at least have one of. Likely we're not going to see Defense Boost for Max return for quite a while, and even outside of PvP, it's still a fantastic skill, especially if you're having a hard time passing things that are like super boss monsters. You know, you have to wall up in order to keep going, and so you have this comboed with like a defense boost, a general defense up. So you combo Defense Boost for Max with something like the Prime Violet. You've got a solid turtle setup that can get you through, hopefully, a lot of challenges moving into the future, as long as they don't super overpower these bosses. So Defense Boost for Max, still really solid. Always good to have one free copy on, if not on like an extra Kyrie EX Plus or an extra Kyrie EX or an extra Xion EX and so forth. So remember that Defense Boost for Max, gonna be a great skill no matter what. You also can't go wrong with having another Attack Boost Max skill, especially since the rate of us getting new banners and getting actual skills is just greatly unproportionate. We don't really get a lot of skills, but we get just a crazy ton of medals. So you're going to want to support those medals with skills, because medals without skills are kind of an up and down game when it comes to actually doing any sort of progression. So you're going to want to have an even number of solid medals and skills. So it's really good to just have an extra Attack Boost Max in there. And the Attack Boost 7, AP Plus, Lux Plus, that's another Attack Boost skill, but again, it's flexible, not reliable. If you're strictly going into these avatar boards for the purpose of getting the Attack Boost Max, then you might honestly be better off waiting for another board. We've gotten it once before, an avatar board where we got an Attack Boost Max skill, an Attack Boost Max SP skill, and an Attack Boost Max Lux Plus skill, all in one. I forgot which one it is. I want to say it's the Captain Goofy one, but it only happened once, but that's not to say it can't happen again. So just keep in mind, if you're going in it only for the attack boost, you're kind of not going in it for the full value. You're going to want that Defense Boost for Max, you're going to want the Attack Boost Max, and you're going to want to make use of those skill perks that we talked about earlier. If you plan on winning a lot at PvP, or if you want to compete really heavily in PvP, you need to buy a minimum of at least 2 of these avatar boards. And the reason for that is because you can more often than not get away with 2 good setups in PvP, with that third setup being some sort of trash setup where you do things like you put status skills on them. So you put like Poison Plus, Triple Threat, Sleep Plus, Paralysis 2 Max. So just keep in mind that you can really get away with having 2 really solid keys on PvP, and then just one used for kind of buffering up. So for example, in that garbage PvP Keyblade, you're going to put like the Violet in there, the Prime Violet, beef up your defense in case your opponent doesn't have Kyrie EX Plus or Xion EX Plus. You're going to put status skills on there so that you could potentially sleep them during that third offensive round where you're the one attacking. So it's really, really good to have 2 if you want to be competitive in PvP. But before, you go off and buy these, if this video convinced you to buy them, keep in mind that if you're not being super competitive in PvP, you can actually get away with waiting until sort of the last day of this avatar board before actually buying them. Because remember that just because we have an avatar board now doesn't mean they won't release another avatar board. So people that bought the Stitch and Angel avatar boards just to only see the Meg and Hercules ones the next day felt kind of salty, because the Hercules and Meg ones came with attack boost, I believe it was attack boost 5 max Lux Plus Plus, whereas the Stitch and Angel ones came with attack boost 6 max Lux Plus. So it's kind of a coin toss, if it was kind of dirty to give like one avatar board and then the next set of avatar boards the next day. So keep that in mind. It's something they could do. I've only ever seen it that one time where it was just super salty, but it is a possibility. They could drop potentially better avatar boards during the time that these avatar boards are up. So with that being said, I would only recommend buying all 3 if you want to keep just an extra set of skills just in case, you know, like an attack boost 7 max, an extra defense boost 4 max for when you eventually get Kyrie EX Plus or Xion EX Plus. So just keep that in mind that it might be worth it to buy all 3, but again, PvP guaranteed 2 good ones, and then just for, you know, purposes, having at least 1 is really good. So that's all for this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. I would be happy to try my best to answer them. But as always, everyone, until the next video, take it easy.